A person, a man, he finds his parents, one of them or both of them, reaching old age, and he doesn't serve them, by which he enters paradise. They almost become his means to enter paradise. A lot of people, unfortunately, they don't fulfill their rights towards their parents. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala amazingly in the Quran, He says, وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Allah Ta'ala has decreed that you worship none except Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that you show dutiful obedience and kindness to parents. The ulama say, look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has coupled alongside His worship gratitude and dutiful obedience to parents. This is how great of an issue it is. Until the point the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-Jannatu tahta qadam al-ummahat wa aqdam al-ummahat. Paradise is beneath the feet of the mothers, meaning to say, serving them and honoring them, provided one has done the first part, which is worshipping Allah Ta'ala alone, without ascribing a partner to Him, then serves his parents. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guaranteed for that person paradise. To the extent Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forbidden us to say uff. وَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ. So uff is the most insignificant way to express displeasure in the Arabic language. And we even say in our language, when we're fed up of something, we're frustrated, we say uff. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbade us to say these words to our parents for whatever reason. Even if a person's parents haven't entered Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still demanded from us that we show them kindness and obedience. So where do we draw the line? Very easy. وَإِن جَاهَدَاكَ عَلَىٰ أَن تُشْرِكَ بِمَا لَيْسَ لَكَ Allah Ta'ala said, if they force you to do any acts of disbelief or ascribe partner to Allah Ta'ala or do anything which is out of the haram in the Sharia, you don't need to obey them. So anything which is permissible, parents give the command, you say, I hear and I obey. This is the demand Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has placed upon believers. So the service we provide to our parents, it's worth nothing in comparison for what they did for us. To the extent Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala taught us to pray for them. وَقُلْ رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. Oh Allah, have mercy upon them, just as they reared me when I was small. Allah Ta'ala has commanded. So Imam al-Ghazali takes something here. He says, after every single prayer, one has to pray for the forgiveness and mercy of his parents. Otherwise, he's considered unfaithful and ungrateful, because Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala coupled it with His worship, that a person shows obedience and dutiful obedience. If a person's parents or one of them has passed away, you still pray for them. You give charity on their behalf. Some of the Sahaba came to the Prophet ﷺ. They said, if my mother was alive, she would have given charity in the way of Allah. Do you see that if I give it on her behalf, she'll benefit? The Prophet ﷺ affirmed that. He said, of course. So if you don't have this opportunity anymore, where you can serve your parents physically, they've left the world, pray for their forgiveness, give charity on their behalf, and they'll receive the rewards of it. And so sometimes children and parents fall out. It's the worst thing that can happen in Islam after shirk and kufr, is to fall out with one's parents. What you don't want is for any one of your parents to be angry with you, rightfully angry. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, رِضَى الرَّبِّ فِي رِضَى الْوَالِدِ. Allah Ta'ala has placed His satisfaction within the satisfaction of a believing parent. Please, if you've fallen out with one of your parents, anyone, make up. Right now, even if it's with a phone call, make up. Because you don't want to die in a state where your parents are displeased and not happy with you. To illustrate this, look at this hadith about a Sahabi. The Prophet ﷺ, in his time, there was a man, a Sahabi, and he used to care and look after his mother. And he got married and he started neglecting his mother on account of his wife. And so his mother required many things from him, but he failed to deliver because of his distraction and his neglectful behavior on account of his wife. So his mother became angry once. And she said, may he not die with Iman, concerning her son. Because he has the honor of being a Sahabi, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has promised them, وَكُلًّا وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الْحُسْنَى. Allah Ta'ala has promised them paradise. So now, that promise and her dua, they are now in battle. When this Sahabi was on his deathbed, the Sahaba surrounded him and they were doing the talqeen of La ilaha illallah. So when a person is on their deathbed, You don't command them or instruct them to read La ilaha illallah. You just read La ilaha illallah. Hopefully it reminds them and they copy you and they read that and they die. Man kana akhiru kalamihi la ilaha illallah dakhala jannah. Whosoever's last word is La ilaha illallah enters paradise. But this Sahabi, the words wouldn't come off his tongue. He couldn't say the words La ilaha illallah. His soul was stuck just beneath his throat. It wouldn't go out. So he was in the pangs of death. So the Sahaba became extremely worried and concerned. So they summoned the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He sallallahu alayhi wasallam came. He looked at the Sahabi and he said to all the other Sahaba, he said, does this person have a mother or a father? They said, yes, he's got that. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, summon his mother. His mother came. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, are you satisfied with your son? Are you upset with him? She said, I am upset with him. He neglected me and abandoned me on account of his wife. The Prophet ﷺ said, forgive your son, pardon him. Otherwise, he can't die with faith. The woman, she was so upset, the mother of the Sahabi, she refused. So the Prophet ﷺ said to the Sahaba, gather firewood. We're going to burn her son alive. The woman was shocked. She said, Ya Rasulullah, you really good. The Prophet ﷺ said, he should be burnt alive because if he dies in this state while you are displeased with him, he'll enter the fire. So the lady, she felt sympathy. She forgave her son. And the Sahaba said, the instant she forgave him, he read the Shahada and left the world. That's enough. A Sahabi, a companion of the Prophet ﷺ of such honor and rank, the dua against him from his mother stood as a barrier. Dua of parents for their children is always answered. This doesn't mean to say that we should employ these du'as and ask for just worldly things for our children. No, we should ask for their success in the akhirah. A story about Shaykh Abdul Razak al-Halabi rahimahullah ta'ala. He was orphaned at a very young age, but Allah ta'ala gave him great amount of tawfiq, ability. He memorized the Quran al-Kareem when he was 7 years of age in 100 days. Shaykh Abdul Razak al-Halabi, at his young, tender age of 7, he was orphaned. He was asked when he was 80, 85 years of age. He said, somebody said to him, look, you've attained what you've attained. Because they used to call Shaykh Abdul Razak al-Halabi the smaller of the two Abu Hanifas. That's how well developed he was in his knowledge of fiqh. He was a sea, an ocean. May Allah have mercy on his soul. They said to him, is there anything missing in your life? And he said, one thing. He said, when I memorized the Quran al-Kareem and I was 7 years old, everybody congratulated me. He said, I wish my father was there and he just made one dua for me, saying, may Allah be pleased with you. He said, this would have done everything for me. Some of the other mashayikh in Syria, there was one of the shuyukh, he was over 60 years of age, and his mother was more than 80 years of age, and she could no longer walk, she was bedridden. And they hadn't performed Hajj. The opportunity arose where he wanted to perform Hajj, but as a favor and an act of kindness to his mother, he wanted his mother to go and perform Hajj with him. But she couldn't walk and they didn't have enough money for transport. He carried her on his shoulders from Damascus all the way to Mecca on foot. And then he did the same when they returned via Medina al-Munawwara. When they returned, comically he said to his mother, after doing all this, mother, have I repaid your debt of you looking after me and rearing me? She said, my son, all the services you've provided to this day doesn't equate to one of the kicks you kicked me while you were in my womb. That's the reality of our due to our parents. Whatever you do, never consider it, I've done too much, or this is enough. Never. As long as they're alive, you serve them and you show obedience to them and you extend your hand of kindness to them. The other event which happened, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, it was in Al-Bukhari, when 3 men were traveling and they went and the storm came and they went and sought a refuge in a cave, and then a rock fell in front of them and the cave was seized, they couldn't come out, and so they all started making dua, and one of them made dua with wasila that he had the opportunity to fornicate, but he didn't. And another one, he had the opportunity to seize a lot of wealth, he didn't. And through each dua, the rock moved a little. And the last dua was of the man. He had 2 old parents, and he would always feed them before he fed his own wife and his children. They were dependent. And one day, when he came after working in the field for hours, his mother asked for some water. He went to the well, drew up the water, came back, and when he'd returned with the water, his mother had fallen asleep. Without disturbing her, he stood there until she woke up, and then his mother said, "Why didn't you just wake me?" He said, "I didn't want to disturb your sleep." And then she drank, and she made a dua for him. He used that as a wasila, and he said, "Ya Allah, if I did that for your sake, in dutiful obedience to my parents, allow this rock to move." And the rock moved, and they all came out and found safety, and they escaped from that cave. Look how beloved this action was to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The man did not want to disturb his mother's sleep.